back to you from my studio. I'm speaking with hopefully my kinder and first graders. We are doing part 2 to the rainy day portrait. So hopefully your umbrellas have had enough time to dry if you've used any wet mediums. And I'm just going to set these aside for now, but know that I'll go back to those later. I have a brand new piece of white paper, computer paper to be exact. You guys can find something around. Anything's really acceptable as long as you have the materials to cover it up the way that we're about to do. So if you take a look down at the sheet, we're going to start our rainy day person. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to do some red rubber boots. And red rubber boots are going to be just a rectangle. Another rectangle like a L. Except I'm going to make a curved line on this side so that it starts to look like a boot. I can color it in if I would like to. Miss Vaughn's always looking for really good craftsmanship, so staying in the lines, making sure there's little to no white when you're using different materials. Let's see. What do I have that's black? I'm going to use some colored pencil also. I'm just going to make the little base of my boot. And then I have to make my other boot. And typically with any sort of landscape, I'm really silly. So you'll see me in my classroom, I dance, or I may be doing something in the hallways. So my person is actually going to be like kicking up their leg and being cute like that. So my other leg, or my other boot, I'm going to draw my rectangle first. I'm going to draw rectangle number 2, and then I'm going to turn down that curved part and color this boot in as well. Rain boots are super important, especially when you are walking outside and trying to keep your feet dry. No one likes a day where our feet end up super wet all throughout the day. So I'm going to color in the base of my shoe. And if you want to do any sort of details on your shoe, maybe a polka dot rain boots, anything like that, go ahead and do that on this part. The next thing I'm going to do is attach the raincoat. And you could cut out paper and make your raincoat. You could draw it. I think I'm going to use some markers for my raincoat. I'm going to outline it. I'm going to draw a pencil first. So my raincoat. Oh, also a good thing to use is your umbrella to kind of see where your person's body needs to be. So I think my raincoat is actually going to go on top of my boots. Just a little bit. And then I want some more over here, kind of peeping out. And then my knee is going to show a little bit on this one just because it's kicked up behind me. My umbrella is going to cover most of my upper body and my face and my hair. But if you were to use your imagination, you're going to have your person holding the umbrella underneath your umbrella. Okay, so I want you to also think about your rain. Sometimes rain can go one direction, sometimes it can be coming straight down. Think about which way you want your rain to go. I think if my umbrella is kind of covering this way, my rain should go in more of a diagonal kind of a rain. So I'm going to go this way just because My boot already has this diagonal on the paper, and I kind of want it to flow really nicely, so I'm just going to keep that rain going this way. Most people, we've discussed this in class, if you use a wax material like a pastel or a crayon, it's going to be repelled when you used water. So if I used a water-based paint in a little bit, then it's not going to cover over the wax. The wax is going to kind of push the water away, and so you're going to be able to see both. So those of you who have a hard time painting in the lines or anything like that, using pastel instead of Sharpie is going to help you have a cleaner outcome at the end. So I'm going to actually do blue first. So you can see I've pulled some different blue pastels, and then I'm also going to have some white raindrops as well. So these are what I'm going to kind of do. I want my raindrops to be just lines. These are dash lines. And I'm going to skip some space, do some dash. I'm skipping some of the area where I know that my umbrella is going to go. And here is my raindrops as they go. Now I'm going to change up my color section. Maybe these raindrops are a little bit different in shape. White's a fun material to use because you're not going to be able to see the white on the paper when you draw, but you will see the white when you start painting. So I think I'm going to do a little bit more of the light blue as well. And there is my white. Remember, depending on how you created your umbrella is going to go on top. So I need to color in my raincoat. Let's do yellow. I'm going to do color pencil. And you guys can pick any material to do this with. You could paint the entire thing. You could use color pencils the entire way. You could use markers the whole time. You don't have to use what Miss Vaughn is using. These are merely what I have around in my house and what I want to use at the moment, but anything is really possible. Maybe Miss Vaughn has, let's do green tights. Miss Vaughn, when it's chilly outside, I always wear tights with dresses and things like that. So I'm going to put on some green tights to go with my red boots. And you can only see it on one leg on mine. No big deal. Remember, my umbrella is going to go here. So if there's any sort of detail, maybe I want a pattern on my, let's do a green pattern on here. I'm going to do dash dot, dash dot, dash dot, dash dot, dash, something like that, just so it gives a little bit more detail and something fun to look at. So this next thing I'm going to show you, you can do a couple of different ways. Miss Vaughn is going to use watercolor because I have that at the house. But if you don't have watercolor, you can also use food dye and water. My suggestion is to just use 1 drop of food dye and then mix water into the food dye for this part of the assignment. We're going to make the splat on the ground. So I don't know about y'all, but when it rains and there's puddles, like we gotta jump in those and make a really fun time of it. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna actually blow some splatters. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my Patty the paintbrush. I'm gonna activate the blue paint by adding water and just getting the tip of the hair wet. When we're doing something like this, we're gonna need a lot more water than paint. So I'm gonna actually add more water to my paint than, there we go, add some more. I'm starting the base of the splat. So adding some more water. something like so. Okay, here's kind of my base. Then I have a straw, and I'm going to blow the water away from the boot. I can turn my paper and kind of change the splatter if I want the excess water to go different ways. And you can also do different colors if you want. So maybe I'm going to add a little bit of purple into it. Making sure my patty's clean, activating the purple, more water than paint, dropping it over here. There's that purple. Going back in with some water. Grab my straw. And I'm making my puddle really big because why not? So now your choice is going to be kind of letting your puddle dry. Ooh, gosh, guys, that's my dad. I guess I'll answer it. Hold on. Hello? Bye, Dad. I love you. Gosh, I love it when your family checks in. I hope you guys are checking on family and friends that are not around in your household. So I'm letting my artwork dry a little bit. And Miss Vaughn is going to also decide which umbrella I want in my artwork. That one's really bold. I like that one, but this one's just so much fun. I think I'm gonna do that one. And you're gonna need some sort of glue. If you don't have glue, you can use a stapler or tape, anything to attach your pieces together. Luckily, I had an extra glue bottle laying around, so I'm gonna use this. And when we're in the art room, Kinder, let's remind everybody else, we're gonna trace our shape with glue and leave enough room for our squish zone. So I'm going to draw, so that you guys can see, a good spacing for our glue. That gives enough room for the glue to squish without seeping out beyond the smaller part of the paper. So I'm gonna turn over my glue bottle and let gravity do the work. And I'm gonna count to 3. 1, 2, 3, and then I can squeeze. And when I squeeze, I can do what all of the Forest Vista Eagles say, which is trace your shape. So this time this actually ends up being a shape. It's a hexagon, but sometimes they're organic shapes and they don't really have a name, so we always call this step tracing the shape. Decide which color you want on your piece. Decide what you want facing upward, what you want to the side. Decide if you want something sticking up the top. I think I'm gonna do this. And then you can press all the edges down. And if you did the squish zone correctly, there should be very little glue that comes off if you have any at all. Also, if I get glue on my hands, which Miss Vaughn just did, if I just rub them together, it's going to allow that to dry and peel off like any of our reptile friends that shed their skin. All right, so I'm gonna turn my artwork upside down. I'm gonna let the splatter paint or the straw paint kind of dry far away from me so I don't get my clothes dirty or anything like that. And I'm gonna start working on this top part. So I think it will be, my umbrella will pop a lot more if I add a border to it. So I'm actually going to use some color pencils to create a border around my umbrella. Does is it's gonna let my umbrella kind of pop off the page. Now, if I had used this color wheel, I don't think I would have needed to outline it. So it just depends on how you choose to make your piece. So on this, I'm going to create kind of a gloomy sunset, and I need to make the horizon line, which is where the land meets the sky. So I think I'm gonna have us on a sidewalk, because why not? So I'm gonna make this my sidewalk line, and I'm gonna paint kind of that sky above it. So let's see, do I wanna use blue? Let's do a combination of blue and green for our sky. And then I'm going to start adding some green. And then maybe a little purple up in the corners. And I turn this around. There is almost all of my piece. So the last thing I want to do is I want to let it dry. The only thing that I have that's gray is my pencil, and since we decided that my ground was going to be a sidewalk, I am going to start coloring in my sidewalk very carefully. I'm going to start on this side, and using my pencil like a color pencil would be. I'm going to kind of avoid coloring around the splatter. I figured this would be good for our rainy days that are coming up, and yet we still have this wonderful color wheel that we're going to get to use for the rest of the year. Ta-da! There is my rainy day color wheel. I hope you and your family have had a really good time participating this week. This can be done many different ways, so you don't have to do it the way that Miss Vaughn did it. You could draw your petal, you could do everything in crayon, you could do it just in marker. But this is just a suggestion, and it's just an activity for you guys to do to kind of explore the different materials you find in your house. And like I said earlier, if you're going to use a basic color wheel for your umbrella, we're going to use the color wheel the next couple of projects. So this is a great way to make our color wheel more exciting and fun. I hope you guys have a really great week. Look forward to seeing you soon. Bye!